All right. So what's up, everybody? I'm Shelbie Morgan, your host of the Hustle, Budget, and Glow podcast. And we have an amazing host here today, entrepreneur, author, marketing guru. We have Mr. Jeremy DeLuke. Everyone give him a round of applause silently, whatever the case may be. Definitely turn up for him. I'm super excited to have him on the show today. My voice is kind of gone. It is South by Southwest here in Austin. So I did go out last night. So bear with my voice today. But I'm going to try to make sure that I talk loud and talk clear. So we're going to go ahead and get started soon. I just wanted to go ahead and introduce Jeremy. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We're going to have a cool, casual, laid back conversation. We're doing some money talk, some hustle talk, some entrepreneurship talk. So everyone, welcome Jeremy to the stage. Jeremy, what's up? All the way from Tennessee. How's it going? My brother from the South, but not here in Texas, but either way, he's honorary. Jeremy, welcome. Introduce yourself to the people and let's get the show started.
Hey, Shelby, good to be on here and I appreciate you having me and super jealous of the reason for your raspy voice. I wish I could be down there at that conference. I've heard a lot about it, but I can actually claim I am a Texan by birth. So I was born in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but unfortunately, or fortunately, one of those parents, my family moved to Tennessee about a month after I was born. I grew up here, but definitely have some roots back in the big state of Texas.
But your birth certificate says you were born in Texas. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I claim I'm a Texan when I need to. It's an interesting crowd.
It's a card to have. If you can play your Texan card, then you should go ahead and do it. I think it could save somebody's life. I don't know. I haven't ever been in a situation, but I feel like if I just pull that Texan card one day, I could definitely do it.
I've always, imagined that maybe I'm on a road trip at some point and I'm in Texas and they're I'm in a bar fight. And if they're like, hey, let's beat up this guy from Tennessee, but I could say, no, I'm actually from Texas. I think that might save me, but I'm not.
You're not going to get beat up. As long as you say you're like a Texans fan, you're not a Titans fan. I think you should literally be okay. I think it literally could save you from fight, jail, whatever the case may be. Oh my God. But no, I'm so glad you're here. Okay. Honorary Texan. Well, real Texan, honestly, and Tennessee by default, thanks to your parents. So, Jeremy, tell the people what you do, your background, how you got started, show them that you're the hustler that you are.
Yeah. So, I started Epic 9 Marketing about 11 years ago. It'll be 11 years in April. So we're right at that mark. But it was birthed out of a kind of a consistent background in design, web development. I had kind of started tinkering around with doing design and web development when I was in high school. That just kind of grew on the side. I never really envisioned it would be something I would do full time. When I was in high school, I just didn't have that amount of forethought to say, hey, this is actually a career opportunity. But I did it on the side through my previous career and funded my way through my master's program. And when I decided to change careers, it was pretty much the only other marketable skill I had to fall back on was, the Photoshop and the programming side of what I was doing. And so started freelancing. It was back in the day when you could get on Craigslist and I would search all of the major cities in the country and a lot of them in between and look for logo design gigs, web design gigs, anything from posters to social media type of things. It was Fiverr before Fiverr was a thing.
Right.
And now Craigslist is this kind of this creepy, armpit of the internet. But yes, yeah. It used to be a very vibrant place and a lot of people would use it to find gig workers. And it was a place where gig workers it was the gig economy before gig economy was a thing.
Right.
And so I'd get on there and I find jobs. Well, long story short, I needed to get health insurance. So this was before Affordable Care Act. So I got on board with a marketing agency in a nearby town and worked as the web designer and developer there. And in the process of that, I learned a lot about the business side of marketing that I never really had been exposed to up to that point. And so really started seeing that, marketing and just how it plays into a business was much more than just giving someone a pretty logo or giving someone a great website. It was about achieving goals. And so after a few years there, I came to the realization that it wasn't a great place for me. It was a little bit of a toxic environment. They weren't treating their clients well. They weren't treating their employees well. So I was like, all right, I think I need to work my way out of here. Well, luckily for me, that is when President Obama kicked off the Affordable Care Act, and I had access to insurance that I needed, but I could get it as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur. And so it was a game changer for me. It gave me the ability to jump out on my own, start something on my own. And then it's grown from there, from a little one-man shop to now we've got a team of 14 folks.
That's amazing, Jeremy. So you were doing website design as a kid in high school. Were you getting paid in high school to do website stuff for people?
No, I think maybe one time I got paid like $50, but it was, nothing. It was more just fun. Like, I just loved building things.
Right. I mean, little did you know, years were going to go by and you were going to switch back over to actually doing that like full time and open your own company. I mean, $50 is honestly quite a bit to a high school student. I mean, my lunch money was $5 a day, and I thought I was super rich. Sometimes I would save the money like the entire week and pocket it and go buy something with on the weekend. So $50, like flat out, that would be great.
Oh, I
was a millionaire. I was going to ask you, so Craigslist was Fiverr before Freelancer was even coined, because freelancing, I mean, that term didn't really exist as far as I'm concerned until like the 2010s, right?
It wasn't even then. So that's about the time that I started doing that. It was around 2010, 2011 maybe. But even then, it still wasn't really a common word that our culture was used to using a lot.
No, for sure. Honestly, I didn't really hear the word freelance a lot until 2020, until the pandemic, because it seems like everyone got laid off. Everyone was like, okay, I'm either going to sit at home and collect this check from the government, or I have this side hustle idea. I'm going to go hustle in. I'm hopping on Fiverr. There's another one. What's the other one called? It's not Fiverr. It's another thing you can get on. It's like equally adjacent to Fiverr, and you can go on there and people can hire you for gig work. Do you know which website I'm talking about?
There is one that's just like called freelancer.com, I think. And that, I think so. I think it launched around 2012 or 2013. But I haven't been there in a long time.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't heard of them. I feel like there's another one. I can't keep up. I feel like a new website, a new app drops every day, right? Like, it does, marketing is always changing. So I try to keep up with it. But yeah, so when you said Craigslist, like, I don't think anyone today would be like, let me go hire someone to do my social media on Craigslist. No one's like, I'm going to Indeed or I'm going to Fiverr to put up a quick like description for a job. Because Craigslist has been known for people to get kidnapped and abducted. We've all seen it on the news. People put false advertisements like, hey, we're hiring a marketing freelancer part-time. Meet me in the parking lot at Walmart and you're gone. Like, we never see like, you were the marketing, literally.
Yeah, I don't have any good stories like that.
Good. I'm glad it was the same Craigslist experience for you. Craigslist, do not sue me if you're listening. You were definitely the OG back in the day, but unfortunately now you're not the front runner.
I did have this one encounter where they tried to pull me into a van, and I was just like, "Hey, I was born in Texas," and they just backed off. And
so, your Texas card had to work. I mean, they're not going to kidnap a Texan because they're going to give you back. They're going to realize, like, honestly, I don't want these kind of problems. Let them go. I need to look up the ratio by state to see who gets kidnapped the least. It's probably Texas. Probably people from here. Like, we don't get that.
I imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't see it any other way. But no, that's so funny. So, okay, you started your own business. Happy almost 11-year anniversary. What were you doing? Tell the people, what were you doing before you were working at that company in the toxic environment and did marketing full time because you got the health insurance? What were you doing before that? So it's a really transition.
Yeah, so I was actually in ministry. I was a pastor in the United Methodist Church, and so that was kind of where when I was in high school, kind of tinkering around with this stuff. I was super into that world, and that's where I saw myself. And so it's been about 13 years working. I went from youth minister, children's minister to planted a church. Worked in a large, kind of all the things, and I would always use these design skills and some of these marketing skills in whatever role I was in at the time, and probably spent a lot more time than I really needed to, like designing things for those roles.
You loved it.
It was this like creative expression that I didn't have access to otherwise. And so, but then I found that when I shifted to marketing and really trying to get people to connecting with people through this way, it's a lot easier and it's going to say bad to say more fulfilling, but it's a lot more interesting, I would say, for sure, to help people get connected with things they actually want to do and actually want to buy, right? Trying to get people out of bed early on Sunday mornings is just it's like pulling teeth.
Right. And especially now, everything being virtual, they can watch church online, right? So,
yeah.
So I guess putting that detail into your passion, and when you were preaching, like, you were like, actually, like, I don't mind doing the marketing for the upcoming summer camp. I don't mind doing the website for the church because this is actually really fun to me. And I guess like in 13 years of like doing that and like just help, you were just volunteering to help is what it seems like. It seems like you weren't making any money from doing that. You just wanted to like market what you were doing better for like the congregation. You were like, actually, I really love doing this. Like maybe this could be my next career. Like I've given everything I can to serve the church. And like now it's time for me to serve in a different way and like help small businesses. That's kind of what it seems like it transitioned to.
It's kind of what it evolved into, I would say. Right. At the moment, like when it first happened, when I first decided, so kind of raw, I'm peeling back all the layers here. The raw truth of it was, I got to a point in my life where I just said, I don't really believe things that I've been doing anymore. And I didn't even despite some people saying, no, you just keep on doing it. You'll be fine. Right. I said, no, I can't with any amount of integrity keep on, pretend that I believe these things. And so when I jumped out of that world, like I really had no marketable, I didn't have a resume that would be attractive to anybody in the corporate world. And so I was just kind of like, all right, what can I do? And so it was really kind of a matter of survival. I was like, all right, I know I can do these things. I know, and I had to really just put my nose to the grindstone and hustle those first couple of years as a freelancer, just finding jobs to do and building up a portfolio to where I could finally get hired on as a web designer. So yeah, I would say initially it was survival, but it got to the point where I could make decisions that weren't based on just putting food in our mouths. But that's what I realized. I really love helping businesses. I love helping these folks that are risking it all, right? Sometimes they've cashed in their 401k. They've put their whole life and their blood, sweat, tears into starting something that is going to make our communities better, right? So the local businesses, they are the lifeblood of our communities. They employ the people in our communities more than large corporations. They give back to nonprofits. Our local nonprofits, they're the names that are donating more than large corporations. And so they are the pillars of the community. They're kind of the unsung heroes. And I don't think a lot of people realize, one, how many of them fail, but two, just the immense amount of stress that any small business is under to try to just keep going and keep providing what they provide to our local communities. And so that's kind of where that my passion kind of evolved to, was how do I give them the resources? How do I do for them what they need? Because they might be good at their craft, but they kind of are lousy at marketing. And if they're not good at marketing, then it doesn't matter how good their craft is, they're probably going to go out of business. And I saw that, right? I would see businesses pop up and they would be around for a year or two and then they would just disappear. And you would say, what happened to them? They had a great product, they had a great service, but they never could figure out how to tell their story in a way that matched the quality of what they were doing.
No, 100%. So what you said about survival mode and like the business not lasting 1 or 2 years, I mean, your business model was survival mode, right? Like you were trying to get past that 1 or 2, 3 year threshold mark. And you went literally from a pastor who had no resume. But at the end of the day, when you think about it, you really were doing all those projects. That was your portfolio, right? Like people couldn't see that, but what you were doing behind closed doors at the church, doing the flyers, doing the website, that's what got you started. So that's what got you to survival mode, but you did have a portfolio, whether you knew it or not, right? You just didn't have it on paper to like send out to a job application. But the thing is, you said you can have a good product, a good service, but if you don't have good marketing, it really doesn't matter. And we're both small business owners, right? And as much as I love old school word of mouth, it doesn't work as well as it did 20, 30 years ago, right? Like it's 2025. Like I think it's amazing if somebody tells someone about my business because they're more likely to buy something from me as a baker because their friends said it tastes good. But at the same time, I got to capture the audiences that don't know about me, that have never heard about me, right? So I can have the best vegan cookies on the planet, but if I'm not posting on social media, if I'm really not trying to market myself, be a multifaceted marketer, then it's hard. But you also got to think about it. Not a lot of people have a business background. People are just like, you know what? I'm really good at making shirts. I'm really good at singing. I want to be a wedding singer. I'm really good at baking. But some people didn't go to school for business. Some people didn't have family that taught them about money management, that taught them about business skills. Some people didn't have careers where they learned about business. So it's like really depending on your background, even if you have a great product, like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. A lot of times entrepreneurs got to go out and get entrepreneurial skills. And one of those is marketing, right? And so I have your book here. Guys, if you don't know, that I did mention in the beginning, Jeremy has a book, okay? It's called Climb. This is honestly an amazing book. I've been reading it. I'm almost with chapter 2. So I taught a couple of years ago, like during the pandemic, I was a teaching assistant and I taught digital marketing for 2 semesters. So if I ever teach again, I want everyone in my class to read this. Like that, this is assigned reading for my
I appreciate that. That's a huge compliment.
Period. No, it's phenomenal. And based off something you said about local businesses, I have questions in here, so things that I want to ask you.
Oh boy, yeah.
So Jeremy said this is live from the book, okay? And by the way, they can get this on Amazon, right?
Yeah. Here's the deal. You can go to theclimb.guide and find all the links. I would say if you've got like an Amazon gift card that you need to use, go get it on Amazon. If you're spending cash money out of your bank account, go to bookshop.org because that helps. Bookshop.org, some of those proceeds will go to a bookshop near you.
Oh, that's bad. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to deep dive at some point after the podcast about publishing books because I really want to do one and I have no idea how to get started. So I want to meet with you offline.
Love talking to you.
We'll have to do that. But the first thing I want to mention is you say in your book, a local business, however, has roots in the local community and is invested in the people, organizations, and future of the community. A local business and a small business is not the same thing. So can you explain the difference? I don't think a lot of people know that. Interchange.
Yeah. So we always hear, it's Small Business Saturday or Small Business Administration.
Right.
The small business gets thrown around a lot. And the technical definition for a small business, according to like the SBA, varies based on your industry. So you can be a manufacturer and have, I think, maybe 1,000 employees. It's some pretty large number.
That's
and you're still considered a small business. Yes. Right. Yeah. And so it seems weird to lump, what is essentially a small corporation, small, probably national corporation into the same category that you would lump a local retailer or a restaurant or a plumber. And so what the distinction I try to make is and this is what the Climb book is really geared to, is if you are a owner operator, you're in your local community and you have roots there, right? You're hiring people there, you're spending your money there, you're giving back to the community there. I think it's worth making that distinction, right? It also, I think, is different than, hey, if you're building, the most amazing new app that's going to go, sell $1 million, but you're just sitting in your basement somewhere and you've got a bunch of people working offshore, you're not really a local business either, right? So I think it's a category worth kind of creating and saying, here are the people that are invested in and giving back to our local community. And these are tactics and strategies that apply to you, right?
So, it's so funny. So before I had read this in your book, I had never thought in my mind to call my business a local business. I've been calling it a small business for the past 5 years because you're right, Small Business Saturdays. Like, I've never met anyone that said, oh, local business. I mean, my business is local here in Austin. It's in Texas, but people don't speak that way. But I think people need to know there is a difference. Like, that makes a lot of sense because you're saying that incidentally, like 500 people could be considered a small business by an employee standard. So also tell people what SBA stands for. Because I know a lot of people don't know what SBA is. I know.
So SBA is the Small Business Administration. I think that's going to hang around for a little while. It's it's kind of all up in the air. Who knows? But up to this point, the SBA is this governmental body that helps really get resources to, whether that's funding or education or other, mentoring to small business owners. I'd say one of the ways that is probably hands in, they've got their hands in local communities is like a local SBDC office, so the Small Business Development Center. I think they are funded in part by the SBA. I could be getting this totally wrong, but I think they're a part of the SBA. But Small Business Development Centers are a huge resource for many communities across the country.
Fun fact, Jeremy, number one, you're not wrong. Number two, I worked at SBDC, like crazy enough. Yeah. I did. Like I worked there in college, so I was looking for like a graduate internship while I was getting my MBA. And I found this job randomly online that said SBDC marketing consultant. And I'm like, okay, like I have a bachelor's degree in PR marketing. Like, let me apply. I'm in grad school. I can only work 20, 25 hours a week. And I applied and I literally got the job. And I had never heard of the SBDC before in my life. I started working there in 2016. And I worked there through like end of 2017, and they had offered me a full-time job. Remember in 2017, that's when they did that huge like government freeze, like, and like a lot of people like lost their jobs. Well, I finished my contract, but I lost the job offer. But I did work there for a year and a half, and that's how I found out about it. But SBA does fund SBDC, but also a lot of state colleges partner with SBA and SBDC, and they have like a home college because my alma mater, University of Houston, was like, I guess the upper echelon of where it was funded through. So like they also work with community colleges. So in Texas, you have like Houston Community College, San Jack, and they were all funneled through University of Houston, but they partner with colleges at the like state level, but they're federally funded. So you are right. They are funded by them. So fun fact, but it was a really cool job. So my job was to help small business owners with marketing. Like I'm telling you, people that didn't have an LLC, they didn't even have a social media handle. Like they didn't have anything. Like most people didn't. So just from the ground up. So again, like these people, they definitely didn't know the terminology of small business versus local business help. They didn't even know what marketing was. Right. And just it's so many things. And like, just because they had a great business idea, like some people had food trucks, there was a guy who had a stock company. I mean, some people went to school, some people didn't, but that didn't matter. The case was they were business owners and they wanted help. But I think knowing the core differentials from local and small business, like that's life-changing. So glad you put that in the book.
Well, and I think there are practical implications to it too, right? Like a local business is going, you can be a local business and have your marketing needs and your budget and everything are going to be vastly different than someone that's on the opposite end of the small business spectrum of you. So, so I think that's important to keep in mind. Obviously, there are also local businesses that are huge, right? Because all of these larger businesses start somewhere locally and they grow. But I think the vast majority of when we think of small businesses, I think we tend to think of local businesses.
So are you saying step one is local business, step two is small business, basically, in a nutshell?
I think there's just some overlap there, but there's enough. There's small business bucket is so big that it's worth maybe carving up just a little bit with a little more nuance. So I think it's every local business is most likely a small business, but not every small business is a local business.
I like that. Not every small business is a local business. That's key. I like that. Okay. I have some more stuff in here I want to ask you. Okay. So to go back on local business, you said, as a local business owner, it's essential to shift your perspective from seeing your enterprise merely as a small business to recognizing it as a brand. So now that's a whole different level. Why would not even why, how does a local business shift their mindset to start thinking like a brand and to actually become a brand? Like, when do you have brand status?
That's a great question. And I think you have it whenever you want it. It's a matter of just putting it out there. I think what happens for a lot, I don't even know if I would say most, but I would definitely say a lot of entrepreneurs is you're good at the thing you do, but starting a business and the idea of having and running a business is a little foreign, and you're a little intimidated by it, and you're a little insecure about it. And so it's a lot easier to kind of look out across the landscape of your competitors and other businesses that are out there and say, okay, what are they doing? What do they look like? What do they sound like? I'm going to kind of just, go with the flow and look and sound like them. And so that's why, and I think a lot of businesses do that. So there's just kind of this kind of level. Nobody's really raised the bar on the local level in terms of what's a brand look like. The idea of creating a brand and making something that's distinct means that you have to go out on a limb even more than you're already going out. Like you have to put your kind of ego out there and say, hey, look at me, I'm doing something. And some people are really good at that, but I think a lot of people that are starting a business, they're overwhelmed with all of the other things that it feels very risky to say, hey, look at me, because you know what? If the statistics are true and 80% of small businesses fail in the first 5 years, then, you could very well say, hey, look at me. And then next year you're gone. And then everybody's like, yeah, look at him.
Right.
And so there's this, I think this kind of unspoken fear that you don't really want to call a lot of attention to yourself because there's a chance you could fail and look really dumb. But what that does, I think it sets you up for maybe not necessarily failure, but it definitely sets you up for less success. And so when you decide to say, I am more than just a local business, I am a brand, it's really going out on a limb and saying, how can I make myself stand out? Whether it's my name, the visual representation of what we're doing, the personality of the business. How can I make my business appear to people and the experience of my business be such that they remember it? And it goes beyond just having a good product. It really does go into all of the ideas of branding. And so I encourage people to take a risk with your branding and your naming, because playing it safe is actually a bigger risk.
It's actually a bigger risk. Oh my God. Yeah, that reminds me of like one of my favorite quotes. I'm probably going to quote it not exactly right, but it says something along the lines of, the risk to remain like close in the bud is harder than the risk it is to blossom. It's by Anais Nin. She was a French poet. And I mean, it's true. Like it's the risk of staying close, tight in the bud. It's much harder than the risk it is to blossom. Like you can't stay closed off. You have to blossom at some point. You have to grow at some point. Let me look up this quote exactly so I can say it properly. Because I think a lot of people are afraid of growth. I think a lot of people don't even know what the definition of it is.
It's like a lot of people are okay and they feel comfortable letting their brand be just a wallflower. Like if we were to look at the local economy and say, all right, it's a high school dance, and you want your brand, for you to be successful, you need your brand to be popular, right? These are very just, this is a horrible analogy. This is a horrible analogy, but it works.
It works.
You want your brand to be popular. That's how you make money. But if you just let yourself be a wallflower, you're never going to be. You've got to take the risk. You've got to get out on the dance floor, and you've got to show people what you're made of. And so that's really how you build your brand. And it doesn't mean you personally have to go out there and do something crazy or wild. It just means, how can you make your business distinct, not differentiated? Differentiated is a completely different idea, but how do you make yourself distinct so that it's easier for you to earn a spot in people's memories? We run into this is I think a great way to show an example of how people kind of fall into that safe, looking the same, sounding the same sort of box. We live next to the Great Smoky Mountains, best national park in the country, the most visited national park. It's beautiful. If you've never been, come on out.
Okay.
I think like close to 1,000 miles of hiking trails. It's a wonderful place. Yeah. So what happens a lot though, when you're next to like an iconic spot like that, is you get a lot of people naming themselves after that thing. So if you were to if we had an old school phone book and you opened it up and you flipped to the S's, you would probably have 10 or 20 pages of Smoky Mountain this and Smoky Mountain that and the Smokies blah blah blah.
Right.
And when at the moment when you're sitting there thinking, hey, what can I name myself? Oh, we can call ourselves the Smoky Mountain, plumber group. I don't know. It seems like really cool. It seems fun, but you know what? It doesn't help you earn a spot in the memory of your customers. And if your branding and your marketing is not making memories, it's a complete waste of time and money.
I love that. And I love what you said about earning a spot in your customer's memory. Like that is something that I think everybody should live by. Like you have to earn whatever it is when you're exchanging something transactional for a product or service. But I don't think people really think about it as earning. Like people aren't going to buy it from you because they have to. They're going to do it because they want to and they respect you probably as a business owner, your brand, your marketing, something about it has attracted them and your overall product or service. And okay, I actually did find the quote correctly. I'm going to read it correctly now. The quote is, and the day came when the risk to remain tight in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. So exactly what you said, not being distinct. You can name yourself Smoky Vegan Cafe all you want, but how is that helping me stand out? How is that helping me earn the respect of potential and current customers and earn that memory spot? So tie it all back. I mean, you have to be different, not differentiate, but you have to be different enough to be bold, right? And to make your brand be something that's not a conglomerate of something else. There could be a million Smoky cafes, hat stores, whatever, but like, why should people come to you? Just because you have the name doesn't mean we're going to come. Doesn't mean we're going to buy something.
And I'll say this just as an encouragement to folks that might be listening that, you know, maybe you named your business, you're an insurance person, you named your thing John Jones Insurance, right? Super boring name.
Right.
But if that's you, don't be discouraged because the name is not going to make you or break you, right? But it's going to either make all of your marketing easier or it's going to make all of it harder. And if you've got an indistinct name that's not very memorable, it's just going to make your marketing harder, but it's not necessarily something that's going to a death knell for you. And you can also do a lot with a tagline. Taglines are a lot more malleable than name. So if you've got a somewhat name, find a great tagline to go with. Find a tagline that just really kind of packs a lot of punch, whether it's funny or bold, whatever it is. Find a tagline that really catches people's attention and run with it. So yeah, so I'd say if you're a small business owner, local business owner that you've never been super excited about your name, if changing your name isn't really a practical option at this point, think about your tagline and your messaging. That can be a way to make up for it.
Okay, I really like that. I've never thought about the idea of your tagline is more important than your business name. That's never crossed my mind. And now I'm thinking about my business, like it's called Grub It Up. But my tagline that I don't use enough, it's on my logo. It's choose, savor, smile, because I want people to experience my baked goods in that order. I want them to chew it, savor it, and then smile because they enjoyed it. But I don't use my tagline, and I don't even put it on social media posts. Like, you're making me feel like I need to be doing more of that. Not feel, I should. I know I should. I don't promote it. It's on the logo. It's on my shirt that I wear at market. It's on my banner. But I literally never just say it or just boldly put it. I want to get new shirts made. I should probably put that on the back of my shirt, the QR code when I'm walking around. Like, just that makes way more sense than vegan baked goods. Like, choose, savor, smile. What is that about? So, like, you're making me think, like, right now, like, taglines matter.
They really do. And it's all about how you use it and how much you get it out there. While we're talking about distinction, I do want to kind of highlight the difference between distinction and differentiation.
Please.
I like to do this when I teach a lot of workshops. I like to do it when there's a big group of people in a room. A lot of the times there'll be competitors in the room. And, I like to say, how many of y'all think you have the best product or service of your category, right? And
Right.
Of course, everybody raises their hand. If you didn't think you were the best, why are you doing what you're doing? Like,
Why are you in the room?
yeah, why are you here? So, everybody thinks that they're the best and that they're, they've got something that the other competition doesn't. But what they found, and this is not just, Jeremy spouting off his opinion. They found this through study after study. I would point people to the Ehrenberg Bass Institute. They're out of Australia. They've poured a lot of time and dollars into studying what actually works and what actually helps businesses grow. And what they found is that even if you are different, even if there are points of differentiation between you and your competitor, your customer is probably completely unaware of it. They do not necessarily know why you're different than your competitor. They may even have misconceptions about how you're different, right? The reason that they're your customer is not because you're different, but it's because you've earned that spot in their memory through brute force. You've just been in front of them more and more and more, or you've done something creative and it's earned that spot in their memory. but it's really about the mental availability and the physical availability. So what that means is if you are mentally available more than your competitors are, by that I mean if people have seen you enough and you're memorable enough, that's going to make you more mentally available. If by physical availability, it's really like how easy is it for them to get your product, right? I think the one brand that everybody knows that has excelled at both of those things, mental and physical availability, is Coca-Cola, right? They pretty much own Christmas, right? When you think of, what is Santa Claus drinking? Santa Claus drinking the Coke. He might be drinking milk, but he's probably drinking a Coke.
I'm drinking a Coke, right?
Yeah. Who? Yeah. Not a Pepsi.
Right.
Same with like polar bear. Like you think about how well they've done their mental availability, it's phenomenal. Now, part of that is just they've been around for forever and they've been just consistently putting the same thing out there year after year after year. But they're also physically available. I can probably, sitting here at my home, I could probably throw a rock and hit somewhere where I can get a Coke. Every gas station, every vending machine that's around, Cokes are so accessible, at least in the US, that their physical availability is just without question. And that's how they've grown, is they've focused on those two things. How do you become physically available? How do you become mentally available? Mental availability for local businesses is a lot easier, I think, than physical availability. Physical availability, if you're a local business, that's just going to be one of those until you really start growing and you grow out of that smaller local business category. Physical availability is going to be limited for you. And so you've really got to focus on the mental availability.
Right. Again, earning that spot in the mind of your customer. That's the mental availability. Because, I mean, as much as I'm going to continue to grow my bakery, like right now, the bulk of my business is wherever I live at, right? Like, so when I moved from Houston to Austin, I had to start over here. I had to grow and learn the city, engage with people, set up shipping like at a higher capability, right? Because it was, I was really just Houston, like that was that. But here, if I want to expand and grow, I have to push that out, right? So how can people know you're physical if you don't first make room for them to know you mentally? So, I feel like the mental aspect that you're talking about is step one. And then once people know your brand more, then maybe you can get the backing, you can get the resources, number one, to even fund to have it out physically, because it's not cheap, right? Like I'm paying for packaging, for wrapping, for mailing at UPS. So it's a lot of things before you can get to the physical part, depending on what your brand is. A lot easier for other people. Because mine isn't, it's not like my podcast, which is a digital service. Anyone can listen to it, right? So it's easy to make. And I don't even know if I would consider podcasting a physical business. Maybe the other parts of me wanting to grow it, like creating a book or doing a financial coaching program. But the core of it is mental. So until I get people to know who I am, if I get them to listen, why would they buy a book from me, right? To make the physical aspect. So I think it's just like a step to getting there, but you got to grab the mental part first. Like you said, that's the easiest part for some business to even do. So I think it's super important. So thank you for sharing that. I have some more to think about on that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So let's see. Okay, I really, really like this part of getting into chapter 1. You said you can't hunker down and refuse to risk. If you refuse to risk, you will soon run out of resources and options. You have to continue moving forward or you will be falling behind. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. It's one of those things. I think it's just the nature of our world and our economy and just our culture. Whether you're small, large, no matter what size, if you're not pushing forward, someone else is going to come in and take that spot from you, right? If you're not working and putting in the work to stay mentally and physically available to your customers, someone else will. You might get lucky and be able to coast for a little while, but eventually someone's going to say, you know what, I can do what Shelbie's doing better. So they're going to come in and take that real estate from you.
100%. Yeah. Like you got to do the work while you can do the work, because if you lack, like you said, one thing and you're done. Like, for example, here in Austin, there are only 3 actual vegan bakeries that are open. There are a lot of places that sell vegan stuff, but you would think it would be more than that in Austin, but there's only 3 actual brick and mortar vegan bakeries. So I have a blue ocean strategy. Are you familiar with blue ocean strategy?
Very, very limited.
Okay, so I only know about it because like it was mentioned in my first marketing class ever. It captured my attention. I took that marketing class held 10 years ago, but a red ocean is a field that's already saturated, right? So there are already a million Starbucks here. There are already a million local coffee shops. That's a red ocean. So it wouldn't be a good idea for me personally to open a coffee shop here. Like it would make no sense. But a blue ocean strategy is an opportunity for you to grow, opportunity for a business idea and to do really well. So there are 3 vegan bakeries. That's a blue ocean opportunity. I can hop in. I might not have a brick and mortar. I might not be able to have those resources right now, but even better, I'm saving costs. I run it out of my home. I have my license. So it's a blue ocean strategy for you to develop while it's open playing, right? It's open playing right now. There's nothing to stop me, right? Because it's e-commerce, it's online, it's run out of my home. My biggest thing is pushing out marketing. My biggest thing is taking all those risks right now while I can before 10 other people come in here in the next 5 years and say, actually, Austin is such a hippie community. Like people love to eat plant-based here. Like I'm going to open up a vegan cafe that sells only baked goods. So it's an opportunity. But that's what a blue ocean strategy is. So when I read that, I was like, you can take the risk now or you can lose the opportunity later. So that's kind of how I look at it. And next, I wanted to talk to you about this. So a good old SWOT analysis. I don't think a lot of people know what a SWOT analysis is. If you did not go to business school or you're not a marketer or a small business owner, maybe you've never heard of it. SWOT analysis, Jeremy, I'm going to let you give more details, but you focus on the first letter of each acronym, which is strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? So that's why you call it SWOT. And I want to ask you, why do you think SWOT analysis is so important? Number 2, how often should people be redoing their SWOT analysis? Because I don't think you can just do it one time and keep it moving. I think your SWOT analysis changes over time.
Of course, yeah.
What is the easiest way to kickstart? Because that could be an interview question. Shelbie, what are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the employee? Very generic question. Anybody can answer that. But at the core, being a business owner, it's not the same thing as the interview. It's very different, and you have to really look at it in a different way. So I was reading through this, and as I was looking through it, I'm like, oh, I need to redo my SWOT analysis for my own business. Like it's been 5 years, and the opportunities have changed, the threats have changed. I've moved. I live in a whole different city. So tell people what a SWOT analysis is for you as a business owner, as somebody who helps people with that. When should they change it? When should they pivot? Best way to start it? Whatever you think would be helpful.
Yeah. So another term for SWOT analysis is a situational analysis. So it's really kind of like looking at the situation you're in right now. And what the SWOT analysis does is it kind of helps you lump different aspects of your situation into these categories: the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it makes sense to put them in those categories because it gives you a easy framework to think through some of these things. And so, yeah, your strengths are the things that you do well, or that the resources that you have that may be particular to your business. Things that make your business stand out, whether it's the type of product you have or the marketing, the branding that you might have. Weaknesses, and when you're going through this, I think it's very important to be as self-aware and as honest with yourself as possible, because it's really easy in our minds to think, oh yeah, we do this really well, and then to minimize the weaknesses. But when you get to the weaknesses, I think it's challenging, or I challenge you to really be as honest and just knock down, drag out, brutal with yourself as possible to really identify what is lacking in your business, what could be better, what are things that are holding your business back right now. Is it the quality of what you're doing? Is it maybe a team member? Is it your location? Is it your branding? Is what about your business is really holding you back? List anything and everything there, because what can happen is if you list all those things out, you can say, all right, this is a weakness, but I can turn it into an opportunity, right? So if one of your weaknesses is that you are missing a certain portion of the population where you're at, right? So you may have 30 years old and up, but for some reason the 30-year-old and younger crowd is just not coming in. So turn that weakness into an opportunity. Figure out, really kind of analyze and say, is there an opportunity there? Do you need that crowd? But you can take the opportunity section to go through and figure out, how can you ramp up your business? What are things that you have in front of you that you're not leveraging and you're not utilizing right now that you could? And drawing from your weaknesses can help you do that. But then also just looking at, is there a new service or a new product that you could possibly offer that could not only get more business from your current customers, but get new customers as well. And just kind of go through and the opportunities section is my favorite, because it's really kind of where you get a dream, right? It's kind of where you just kind of, all right, sky's the limit. What could the possibilities be here? And I wouldn't let yourself don't tie your hands down with any sort of restrictions on that. Just list every opportunity that could possibly ever be, budget and money aside, just list them all. And then your threats are the things that are kind of outside of your control, right? It might be government regulations, it might be competition, anything that you really don't have direct control over that could negatively affect your business. That's where your threats would come in. Sitting down and looking at all of that helps you just get a clearer picture of where you actually are and where you can go.
I love that. And I think the thing I really love that you said the most was, the acronyms can pivot, they can switch. Your weaknesses can become an opportunity. And maybe one of your strengths, maybe my strength from 2020 is now a weakness for me in 2020, my bakery, right? Like, you have to look at things that way. Now, threats are going to be threats, right? But there might be parts of a threat that you can use for your benefit. You can pivot. So it seems like a SWOT is not set in stone. It's not locked in. It's something you should probably reevaluate as a business owner every now and then. Would you recommend somebody do a SWOT every year, twice a year, every 2 years? How often do you think somebody should do a SWOT analysis as a small or local business?
I mean, there's no like standard protocol there. I would say anytime you see any sort of major shift in your own business or in the market, take a step back and just run through those things in your head. I think once you do it enough, it almost becomes kind of second nature. You don't necessarily even have to sit down and write it down, but it's kind of, you start thinking in those terms. But I think in general, you're not going to hurt yourself if you sit down. I mean, it doesn't take that long, right? Maybe it takes an hour at the most to really sit down and do this. So, once a year at least seems reasonable. One of the things that we're talking about, threats, that seems like it could also be turned into an opportunity that people are facing right now is tariffs, right? It's definitely a threat. It's going to affect so many businesses negatively. But I imagine that there are some businesses out there that can say, all right, this is happening. How in this moment can I change something about my business to turn this into an opportunity? So, not everybody's going to be able to do that, but I'm sure there's some
be able
that
to
can.
do that at all. Yeah. Now, a lot of people aren't going to be able to do that. But I think some people can. They really sit down. They can use it as an opportunity to grow or scale back. Maybe scaling back is the best thing to do as a business when it comes to tariffs. You got to really kind of, I think, run the numbers at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely one of those things that, like, a SWOT analysis will help you. If nothing else, I think it'll help you feel a little bit more secure in your situation if you are just more aware of all the variables.
I agree. So I have a question for you. I want you, in your own words, define marketing for the people. What is marketing to you? Not textbook, not what we got in college. What is marketing at the end of the day?
Earning memories. It's that. If your marketing is not memorable, it's a waste of time.
What are you without marketing as a business, right? Do you think after somebody has decided, oh, hey, I want to start a business, I have a business plan, the first thing they should do is marketing? Or should marketing come after the sales plan, after the content creation? But content creation is marketing. What is like the step to start marketing as a small business or local business owner?
I think if you're a local business owner or you're thinking about starting a business and you are not necessarily a creative person, or marketing isn't something that you've really ever thought about deeply, I would say get a trusted person, whether you're paying them or whether they're a friend, but get someone around you that can help you think through these things. And I would say start thinking about marketing before you ever even solidify what your product is, right? Because marketing can speak to that process, whether you have a you're a service-based business or a product-based business, marketing can help you speak to what does it need to look. What do people really want and need? Even what's their perceived need that they're trying to solve, right? What do you call it? How much do you price it for? Marketing speaks to all those things. And so I think getting someone around you that can help you think through those will make your job long-term a lot easier. It's a lot easier to get that right on the front end than to change it down the road. A anecdotal story I have for that is a service that when we first started offering it, we would do it for free. So we would have people come in and I would sit down with people and spend an hour or more with them, talking to them about their marketing, giving them ideas, telling them what they should be doing or not doing, and yada, yada, yada. And then I would say, and if you would like for us to do these things for you, here's how much it costs.
Right.
And then I would hear crickets after that, right? They would go, and the next thing I know, they're taking the ideas that I gave them and going somewhere down the road and getting them done for cheaper. And so I can't remember what really made us decide to do this, but I think it was mainly because we were like, man, we're wasting a lot of time just giving people ideas. We're giving away the stuff for free. Let's put a price tag on it. Yeah, I was like, let's put a price tag on this. And so we started charging. We started out with $99, and we started charging people just for that initial consultation. We call it a base camp consultation, and we just kind of gave it a go to see if people would actually pay for it. And they did. They paid $99, and two things happened. One, we got some money. Two, our closing rate, when we came back to them and said, hey, here's what it would cost for us to do these things for you, our closing rate, like, it doubled overnight because, and this was several years ago now, and I wasn't really as educated on behavioral science as I am now, but part of it is that sunk cost fallacy, right? They've already paid us some money, so it makes sense to just stick with us, right? And right. They've also, when they put money on it and when they pay for something, they feel that it's more valuable than if they had not paid anything for it. And so people were getting it for free and leaving. It was partly because they just didn't see any value in it. But the minute that they pay something for it, they see value in it. So I say all that to say, if you think through those sort of things on the front end, you could probably make yourself a lot more money than if you change that down the road. Now, right. Fast forward, this is 5 years later after we started charging for it, we now for essentially the same thing. We've added a lot to it, and it's a little bit more robust, but it's kind of the same concept. Right now, we charge almost $2,000 for it, and so
100 to 2,000.
Yes. And so I think, man, if I had spent the last, the 3 or 4 years back here where we were charging, $100, $200 for it, if I had charged that much back then, I would be a lot richer right now. I think that's why it's good to have smart, creative people around you to bounce ideas off of, because they can help you spot those opportunities on the front end.
I like that, Jeremy. So I feel like one of the things that I got out of that is ask for money, like ask people to pay you for what you're good at. Like you have to, right? And even as I was growing my business, I struggled with pricing structure. I price my baked goods, but I'm like, actually buying vegan, like baking ingredients is really expensive. Like I got to make at least a 50% ROI every time I make something, or if not, I'm wasting my time. And I was pretty much giving away baked goods for free. And it took somebody else telling me. So when I lived in Houston, there was a bakery counter at this food hall, and it was 12 bakers. We were all women, and we all sold our products there. Best thing ever for my business. I would love to find that opportunity again. The place closed down like right after I moved to Austin. But anyway, we all sold our products at the counter. No competition. We were all baking when everybody went. We all sold different stuff, right? Because even if there are 12 bakers in the kitchen, we're all different. And so it was just a way to like help us grow our brand. But anyway, guy that on the bakery counter had like emailed me. He was like, hey, Shelbie, do you want to like double your prices? He was like, your products are the cheapest ones at the counter. And he was like, you're really not making that much because I get a percentage and you get a small payout, but like other people are charging way more. He was like, you're not charging enough for your product. It's really good at selling out, but you could be making double. And so it literally took that man telling me that I wasn't charging enough And I really did the math on my ingredients, and I was barely like making a 3% return.
Oh,
And so I had just got started. It took him telling me he was creative. He was a business owner. It took somebody else telling me to do better in order for me to make more. So,
yeah.
you know,
No, I had someone do something very similar to me in probably my second or third year. He just kind of came out straight out and said, like, I'm not going to pay you what you want me to, what you're asking for. He's like, I'm going to pay you more. And it's cool when other business people take that upon themselves to do that. And I think the best we can do as small business owners is pass that on too, right? We're going to be able to tell someone else that at some point. But I see that's probably one of the most common things I see with young business owners is that they need to be charging more, especially if you're a service-based business. You probably need to double. If you're in your first year or two of business, you probably need to double your prices. If you're have some sort of product that you're making or baking, there's a good chance that you need to double your price or increase your prices to some extent with that as well. And part of it is sitting down and figuring out how much do you have to make off of each product to make so that you can thrive, right? You don't want to be in survival mode. You want to be in thriving mode. So the question is, how much do you have to make off these things, or how many of them do you have to make for you to thrive? And so it's simple math, but entrepreneurs, for whatever reason, are horrible at doing it sometimes.
Because we're worried about everything else about the business, right? We're just worried about making the business work. We just
want to get paying customers. Sure, you can have it for that.
Yeah, it's okay, but you can't decrease your worth just because you want to get your name out there. I think that's the main thing. You gotta do the simple math, because if not, the math won't work for your bank account. Your business won't stay open. Point blank, period.
Yeah.
Surviving versus thriving, two very different things, but you can't always just be surviving. I think there comes a point in your life where surviving can be seasonal, right? As a business owner, there'll be periods of survival, no matter how successful your business is, but the goal is to be thriving. The goal is to be impactful, and you can't really be impactful. Your business can't really help other people if you as a business owner are always just trying to make it and survive. You literally can't. Like, there's not enough marketing in the world that can get you out of the hole if you're not like stepping up for yourself and like knowing your work as a business owner, right? Like, you got to do it. It does take other people sometimes, like it did for me in those experiences. That you have it, like, ask for it, do it. So with that being said, Jeremy, thank you for being on the show today. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, it's been so much fun. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy, the marketing king. You got to get his book, Jeremy LaDuke, Climb. Jeremy, I want you to give me all the links to everything where people can find you, where people can get your book, social media, everything. But quickly tell people where they can find you at before we wrap up.
Yeah, so I would say the easiest and probably the best, if you just want to reach out for anything, email jeremy@epic9.com. LinkedIn is pretty much the only social media that I'm super, super active on. So you can find me on there. I'm also on TikTok, but through Climb Club. So Climb Club is a online community that we started to help local business owners get their hands wrapped around their marketing. And we've got a free month trial, and you can find that at theclimbclub.com. And so I'd love to have you on there. There's resources, video guides, but also a weekly mastermind for people to jump in and get advice from other local business owners as well. And then you can find the book on,
I want to join Climb Club for myself. So yeah.
Hey, come on. Yeah, it'd be fun.
It'd be fun. Yeah, I think that would be a really good job, just to have a forum. It's like matchmaker. Like, I paid for that, but that's how I met you, like, on a podcasting forum. So it's changed everything for me in podcasting. Like, I didn't know where to look for guests. I'm like, should I interview my friends? Like, I had no idea. So just being in the right communities can change your life. Being around the right people can change your life. So I think you should be in communities with people who are doing as good as you or better than you, that want the same thing. So definitely want to check that out, Jeremy. Thanks for dropping everything. Jeremy, keep hustling, keep marketing. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is going to be live on YouTube. It's going to be live on your favorite streaming platforms for you to watch and listen to. I'm Shelbie Morgan, your host of the Hustle, Budget, and Glow podcast, holding you down in Austin, Texas. But as you know, I'm from Houston, Texas. Peace out, everybody. Have a blessed weekend. Keep hustling, keep shining, keep grinding. Peace.